What up, everybody? Good afternoon. Do not adjust your television sets. Do not adjust your radios. Do not adjust your computers. I am Alanna Rizzo, your host for the next couple of hours here on Foul Territory with the fellas. Scott Braun is off this week. What up, guys? It's nice to be with you. Look at all these good-looking faces out there. How you been?
Doing well. Everything's going great. How about you?
I'm pretty good. All right, Kratz, I understand that you were the king of poker recently in Las Vegas when Foul Territory went to Vegas. What does that say there, my friend? Oh, BetMGM, of course, a great partner of ours. What did you win? I can't hear you, Kratz.
He's muted again.
Muted.
You won nothing.
You will win nothing and like it. What did you win?
I won $1,500.
Congratulations. I said this the other day last week that you had to take us all out for dinner, the Foul Territory family. All right, guys. Good to be with you. We have a lot to cover in the next couple of hours, starting with Charge the Mound, one of the most anticipated series, of course, of the weekend. Yankees and the Dodgers. That was a good weekend. I go into that series thinking the Dodgers had to show me something, and AJ, they showed me. What did you see?
I didn't watch it, so I don't know. You tell me. You guys are going to have to answer this one. I was in London, and the games came on at 3 a.m. I saw
you
the
didn't
scores.
set your alarm?
Do you think they show that in London? They don't show that. There was a cricket match on. They were talking about – but listen, I did see the Dodgers won 2 out of 3. That makes you happy, Alanna. Todd's sad. Sorry, Todd and Kratz. But the Dodgers won 2 out of 3. I saw Yamamoto pitched awesome. Teoscar had a big game in Game 2. And then Game 3 was the Yankees had to win one. They pulled it out, and I did not like the "We Want Soto" chants when Grisham was hitting. I thought that was crap. I mean, the guy's hurt. Give the other guy a chance. And how do you respond? 3-run Johnson. So good for you, Grisham.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. All right. Well, you watched enough. Apparently, you knew enough about the game. Obviously, it was a tight one. Todd, in the on Friday, 11 innings. Yoshinobu Yamamoto just absolutely shoved it down their throats. I'd love to see it because I was thinking, can this guy pitch in a big game? He did just that.
Yeah, he looked great. He looked great. And I was the first one to say, honestly, I thought coming into this season, that fastball was going to get hit. In the beginning of the year, it did. And now he's kind of calmed down a little bit, looking like the superstar that he is. And you can see, without Soto, it's kind of a different ballgame. So for the Yankees, taking that third game, I thought that was a big game for them to kind of calm them down and say, you know what, we still are the Yankees. We still are good. But for the Dodgers especially, it's exciting to see them playing in these big games and going out there and dominating. Even the first game, it was close, 0-0 ball game until extra innings, but it was must-see TV. And if this is what the playoffs are going to look like, I would love to see East versus West as we move forward into the late Classic.
And Kratz, it wasn't just Yamamoto that had a big game. I tell you what, Teoscar Hernandez, he could very easily be one of the best off-season free agent signings, certainly for an outfielder. I mean, 9 RBIs in this game, 3 home runs, including a grand slam in the series.
Not really the guy you were going to think was going to step up the way he has, but through this time that the Dodgers a Dodger slump is relative, but the fact that he's been carrying him and he goes into this big series and has just an unbelievable series. Yes, everybody's going to want Soto in the offseason, but Teoscar deserves more than a 1-year deal. So there's that. But to me, the biggest thing for this whole series, maybe Soto showed the Yankees they really do need to re-sign him. And he just upped his price because he didn't play at all this series and offense was a little flat. If it wasn't for Grisham, Yankees don't even win the third game, and they get swept.
And that's what's bringing me to AJ's point earlier that he didn't like the fans chirping that they wanted Soto. I mean, Grisham, yeah, he was batting .083, but he hits a 3-run home run to make the difference. And by the way, how do you raise your price from $500 million, Kratz? I mean, that's what Soto's probably going to demand.
Easy. 520 plays, 535 plays. I mean, as long as he's unsigned, his price just keeps going up the closer he gets to winning the MVP.
AJ, is he worth $500 million?
We've had this conversation. The answer for me is I don't think so. But listen, here's the question. And I saw the Mets this weekend. If the Mets don't bid on Juan Soto, who's the other team besides the Yankees? Give me an answer.
There isn't one because I don't even think that the Dodgers can do it.
The Dodgers, I don't think, would do it. So
No.
Who's the other team? And the Yankees have learned not to bid against themselves, right? So who's the other mystery
Let's use this, as Scott Boras would say, mystery team.
The Cubs. I know they don't
Giants?
spend. I mean, you think about how the Dodgers had their Dodger rebuild last year, where they didn't quite spend as much as they normally did because they were anticipating Soto. Could the Cubs do that? I don't think so. History says no. I was honestly hoping that the Mariners would do something this offseason. They proved to me that they don't want to spend or think they need to spend, but there will be there's got to be a second team, and I think the Mets are that second team, and that's where his price is just going to go. Oh, Mets.
I said if the Mets don't, if the Mets don't jump in, if Stevie Cohen, who by the way, let me just say this, said the food is better in London than New York. I don't know Steve Cohen, but that guy's crazy because the food is way better in New York. And I went to some nice restaurants in London, and they were good. But you go to New York, the food is unbelievable. I mean, so London, you get pub food, you get fish and chips. New York, you get pizza, you get everything. So not really a great quote by Steve Cohen. I don't know. Maybe he wants to move the Mets to London. I don't know what he's thinking with that quote. But if the Mets don't bid, I have a hard time finding another team.
London has taken their food game up a little bit. I was just there last year. No, it's not New York. It is a little bit better, but not the pub food was the worst food I had in London. They have some good Italian joints too. All right, you know what we're talking about? This is strange to me. When I first saw this, guys, the Judge and Ohtani hat. I don't know if you saw this. I know AJ, you didn't. You weren't paying attention. That's fine. But I don't know if you guys, Kratz and Todd, saw this hat with Aaron Judge's number on one side and Ohtani's number on the what are we doing? This is anarchy to me. What is this?
This is I don't know, because he's not coming over to the New York. That's for damn sure. I think somebody's trying to make some money. I think that's basically what it is, to be honest with you, to have a cool hat and pray to God both of them sign it, and then that would be a one of one. I think that's the only thing there, and people are trying to be unique with their hat selections now, and if you're a Yankee fan, you can't wear that hat. So I got to figure out who number 17 is for the Yankees. It's got to be. Anybody know?
It's probably retired, but
yeah,
retired every number.
You can't wear that hat. You can't wear that hat. B, I can't wear that hat. It's a snapback, so bald guys can't get that snapback on.
17 is Aaron Boone. Just FYI.
Yeah.
Oh, Booney's? Booney's 17. So it's not retired.
No, 1 through 10 is retired, but not Boone.
Okay. I figured it'd be like guessing what team I played for. If the Yankees number's retired, you're gonna pretty much guaranteed something's gonna be retired. But you can't. The Mets and Phillies. Now, I don't know if this was sold in Yankee Stadium. The tweet says from Darren Ravel says it's at Yankee Stadium. I'm assuming it has to be outside of Yankee Stadium. No, like not in Yankee Stadium.
I don't know. I've seen in ballparks now where they're selling other teams' merchandise. I'm not saying Yankee Stadium is doing it, but there are ballparks selling the opponent's merchandise in their team store, which to me is blasphemy.
That's crazy. I mean, the Mariners had that whole thing when the Blue Jays came to town. They were selling, or when Ohtani came to town, they were selling Ohtani jerseys. They did that, and people were pissed. I remember Cal Raleigh said it. But I want to ask AJ, because I saw a picture also of a Phillies and Mets jacket that was for sale for the London Series. Who on earth is wearing a Phillies Mets jacket besides somebody that has, like if the Rodgers twins were both playing on separate teams?
Listen, I saw a lot of crazy things in London. We showed the guy on Fox with the A's shirt and the Expos hat. He was really confused where he was, but it was different. That was marketed towards the London fans, not the American Philly fans who came over, who, by the way, Kratz, you'd be very proud of the representation from your Philly people, because it was like 80-20, if not higher, Phillies to Mets fans over there. Everywhere you went, we did this thing at Trafalgar Square where I heard you and Kip just made fun of me for my swing and my awesome sweatshirt. But it was like being in Philly. It was like being on, Broad Street down there in South Philly, and it was all Philly fan. Ryan Howard walked out. I mean, holy cow, I walked out with him. I was like, thank you, Ryan.
You didn't think
we did make fun of your swing. We did make fun of your swing. Your swing looked good. but you just kept rolling over. Every video they showed, it was just you just rolling over on one. You even looked down at it.
It was one swing. They only showed one swing.
It was not one swing. That's what we tried to tell people. This was 7 different swings in a row. You just kept rolling over.
It was one swing. It was the first swing. And I haven't swung a bat in I've hit a fungo, but I haven't actually swung a bat in probably 5 years. The first swing, it was like I felt like the scene in Aliens where the guy comes out of her stomach. That's what felt like my stomach. My whole core just went.
Sigourney Weaver.
I was like, oh boy, that didn't feel very good.
Maybe it was
Sigourney
the London
Weaver,
food.
yes.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver. Maybe it was the London food doing that to your stomach. By the way, guys, those listening, watching, don't forget to sign up for the Foul Territory newsletter. Get the latest baseball news sent to your phone from the Foul Territory gang in the morning. So let's talk a little bit about that London series. Obviously, another series that was circled on some people's calendars. Maybe not as much as Yankees and Dodgers, but Phillies took game 1 with the Bryce Harper home run. I love to see it. I love the soccer celebration. So, AJ, you were there. You had the best seat in the house. What was your takeaway from that series? And do you think it's important to keep doing this internationally?
100%. The people over there, I met a million, not a million, but I met a lot of Londonites. I don't know what you call them.
Londoners?
English people, Londoners that were really into baseball. When they found out I was there for the MLB game, they were like, oh, this is so cool. And it was packed, 60,000 people in that stadium. They were into it. They were there early. And listen, the Bryce Harper thing, what he did was unbelievable. And we said it on the air. We were talking about it. Is there a guy in a big situation that lives for that moment in Major League Baseball more right now than Bryce Harper? Big situations, games on the line, big moments. I think we're probably going to want Bryce Harper up at the plate because he lives for him and he always seems to deliver in them. And then the soccer celebration was just incredible. Ranger Suarez came back, pitched well. The game we did, it was really fun, and they need to do more of these, which is what MLB is trying to do.
So, Todd, if AJ wants Bryce Harper at the dish, do you want Ranger Suarez on the mound, or are you taking Nola or Wheeler?
Oh, man. I think I'm a little biased here because I got to be the third baseman when Wheeler was pitching, so I'm going with Zach Wheeler all day. He's just calm, cool, and collective. He just out there just doing his thing. He's stoic. He's not going to get too excited. You're not going to see him fist pump or scream and yell. But I know inside everything's going a mile a minute. He just does his job, though, man. He was so fun to play with. And now to watch him prosper and be that guy, he was behind DeGrom for a couple years, but he was like number 1A and 1B right there, both those guys. So for him to see him do it, I would take Wheeler all day, every day as the number 1.
And Kratz Suarez, though, getting the win in the game that he pitched. Obviously, it's his 10th win of the season already. I mean, this guy could easily be the Cy Young Award winner. And obviously, when he got hit on the comebacker, everybody, their heart stopped. But he looks great.
He looks great, but he looks under control. I mean, I get what Todd said. Zach Wheeler's been doing it for a long time. He's got that elite velo, and he just looks like he's always under control. But Ranger just looks like he's almost playing a kid's game. And maybe I sit there and watch him field a ground ball, and he fields it, checks the logo on the ball, slings it over to first. He just looks like he's having so much fun. And for a team that has aspirations of winning the World Series, not making the playoffs, they're in that upper echelon of the Yankees, the Dodgers, the teams, the Braves, the teams that are built to win the World Series. And when you have a guy like this who has been awesome, he didn't have that long outings in the playoffs, and that was kind of because he was throwing game 1 of the NLDS because they had to get through the wild card series. It was like, hey, we got 4 out of Ranger. Now we're going right to the bullpen. And it's like 5 or 6 dudes in that bullpen that shut the game down. And all of a sudden the Braves were down 1-0 in the series. And now Ranger's getting to show what he can do and what he has done. He had some inconsistencies last year when the season started because he kind of started the season a little hurt and banged up. And then he came back. And now it's incredible. The role he's been on is wild. And he does it with low exit velocity, not tons of punch outs.
So let me ask you this, and I got to be around the Phillies on Saturday for a while. In their locker room, is there a better clubhouse chemistry, a better clubhouse than what the Phillies have going? We talked about it when they just kind of brought back their own team. We've had Rob Thompson on. We've had Nolan. We've had a bunch of the Phillies guys on. But Kratz, you know this better, and Todd, you've watched enough that This clubhouse is unbelievable how much fun they're having, how much they like each other. I mean, I saw Stubby in there, and I said, Stubby, because JT Realmuto is pretty banged up right now, but he's like playing. I'm like, Stubby, you couldn't sneak your way in there? And he's like, nah, I told JT my shoulder's sore so he could play these games. They're kind of important. Like things like that, other teams just don't usually, you don't see out of them. These teams they just like each other so much. And I know that doesn't always help you win, but in Philly's case, because of where they are and what they've been through, that means something to me.
And when you're going to a ballpark excited to see the boys every day, excuse me, it's phenomenal feeling. Because some days you go to ballpark, you're like, man, I wish I had another off day, or, I got to see this guy again clowning around. But when the boys want to see each other like that, camaraderie, the goals to win and have fun no matter who's playing, it's only good things coming for Philly.
AJ, what's the best team you've been on in terms of that camaraderie that you're talking about? Because it does speak volumes and it makes such a huge difference.
The two teams that obviously come to mind are the early 2000 Twins that I was on, that we all played in the minor leagues together. So we all knew each other, knew each other's families, Ortiz, Torrey Hunter, Jock Jones, Minkiewicz. We all came up through the minor leagues. And then the 05 White Sox. We had fights and we had disagreements, but at the end of the day, man, it was a joy to go to the park every day.
What about you, Kratz?
Those Royals teams were unbelievable. The Brewers teams I played with, the thing that's common is you did well. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg, winning or the camaraderie? I don't think you get the winning without the camaraderie. I think the tougher question would be, what's a team that you won on that you were like, oh my goodness, like that was such a grind of a year? I'd have a tough time finding a team that you were winning and you didn't really like the guys in the clubhouse.
Let me ask you this then. Trade deadline coming up, right? A month and a half away. Do you bring in a guy that you know is going to make your team better that doesn't fit the character of the group?
Who are the Phillies going to bring in? That's my question.
I'm not just talking about the Phillies. I'm just talking about in general. Let's say you're right there.
Luis Robert. Do they bring in Luis Robert? They need a right-handed hitting outfielder, and Luis Robert will be available. Is he good enough to know? I don't know. Is he going to fit into the clubhouse? Is Tommy Pham good enough that I don't know? Is he going to fit in the clubhouse? Like, to me, like you'd have to be a pretty big time like bad rep if you think somebody's not going to fit into a tight clubhouse, because that person's going to be there for 2 months and they're going to fit into what you're already doing. I'd have a tough time finding somebody that would ruin the chemistry that I've seen the Phillies have, and also that AJ just saw that they have when he was over there in London.
Yeah, it's a fun club for sure.
You just fall in line, and that's whenever I got traded, I wasn't going over there to hurt people's feelings or saying, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. When you go to a winning ball club, you just fall in line, and guess what? You get to know the guys a little more day in and day out. Their quirks, what they like, what they don't like, and then they start understanding you a little bit, and you just fall in line and you want to be what they're doing, and that's what makes a better club.
AJ, let's talk about Sunday for a second. Mets taking the second game of the series, I guess only a 2-game set, but a kind of a funky way to end things, that 2-3 double play to give the Mets the split with the Phillies. Take us through what you were noticing while you were there.
Well, first of all, I couldn't believe that Torrens made the right play when he went and got it, and went and got it and came back. Now, I can't believe he threw this, because that's the old play, Kratzy, where you're like, you only feel like something bad can happen, so you don't throw it. You're like, all right, we got the one out. Let's just save it. And he went and chucked it and made a perfect throw and turned the double play. So, listen, nothing but love for him. No, that was an incredible play. And I tell you what, that dude, since he's come over to the Mets, has thrown out base runners. He's got some huge hits. He's been really good for him. He was in AAA with the Yankees this year.
He's every aspect of the game behind the dish that they've lost since Francisco Alvarez is gone, he is done. 2-run homer, yeah, he's not going to hit like Alvarez does, but he's earning his spot. He's receiving the ball better than the other guys did. He's actually throwing guys out, which you mentioned, but that play right there, if you watch the replay, when he steps on home plate, that angle is exactly why you don't throw it, because his angle, it looked like he was like leaning to throw it like this. That's just a donation into right field. And 2 runs could have scored on that throw. And he made an absolute dime of a throw and got him by like 2 steps too. If you told me to pick how this game was going to end, that was not going to be it. That was an amazing play.
When's Alvarez coming back, guys? Does anyone have any intel on that?
They're hoping this week.
So
they're hoping this, according to Mendy, which, by the way, I love Carlos Mendoza. We've had him on the show, but we get to sit down, as you know, Alanna, with the managers before a game. But Carlos Mendoza, unbelievable. Handles situations. He said they're hoping this week, but he has a family situation, I guess, in Venezuela. So they're not exactly sure when that's going to get handled and he's back. But he's closer than farther away. And listen, they miss him. I mean, they'll admit, hey, we really miss this guy. We need him back, not only for the lineup presence, but behind the plate, because they want a guy they can count on every day back there. And that's what you're looking for. And he's the guy that can do it for the next 10 years for the Mets.
Yeah, the one guy that is involved in every single play, as maybe Kratz and Pierzynski know. I don't know if you guys know a lot about the catcher position, but you guys are part of everything that happens on the field. So just in case you're wondering, how about we get a word from our friends over at SeatGeek, guys. SeatGeek is the official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. So they have you covered for all of your baseball ticket needs. And there's not a ton of games today, fellas, but want to know what your thought is as far as the matchup that you're looking for. There's only like probably 2 or 3 games that honestly are even worth watching. I'm looking at like Burns and Pepio as being one, obviously. Thoughts? Todd, what are you looking at?
I'm going to stick with the Yankees here. Rodon, who's been having a really good year. Seth Lugo, Cy Young running, all-star running. I mean, this guy has been phenomenal too. Started as a reliever, a long reliever, and then turned into a little bit of a closer role and then back to where he needed to be. He's having an exceptional year. So I want to see that in Kansas City. Kratzy, get the flight going, kid. Let's go.
That's right. We'll get. I'll use my poker winnings. We'll get a PJ. We'll quick fly out there. Although
I don't think $1,500 is going to get you a PJ that's actually going to make it to
we'll
Kansas
get 10
City,
miles out of that one.
We'll jump out. We'll jump out and we'll float to KC. It'll be perfect. Me and Todd will float in because the Yankees, they're going to need some energy. They're going to need some. They had the night game last night. And they got to go out to KC. That's no small task. They got in late last night or early this morning to try to take on a really good team. And Lugo, I mean, it's a tough ask by them. But for me, I'm going to Milwaukee. I gotta see the Brewers go up against, less about the Brewers because they always find a way to win these games when we don't think they're going to win the games. But they're facing Barrios. And the Blue Jays, they're starting out a little road trip here that they need to get on. They need to get on it. We've been saying this the whole year, and this is a great measuring stick of a team that they're playing against.
Yeah, no question about that. What about Burns and Pepio? Anyone care about that?
They're such homers. These 2 guys are such homers, Alani. Like, you want to go see Pepio because he used to pitch for the Dodgers.
No. First of all, Pepio wasn't even there when I was with the Dodgers. I don't want to hear it. He wasn't even called up yet.
Kratz has got to see the Brewers.
Who else?
I'm sorry that the White Sox are so bad that nobody cares about that pitching matchup today. And what is it? Fetty and Logan Gilbert's pretty good. Yeah, Logan.
It's a good one.
Fetty. So is Fetty. That's actually a really good pitching matchup.
Damn it!
But if I could go to one, I'd just go to Baltimore and Tampa Bay. Why? Because I could drive. And but instead I got to get on a flight, not a private flight, but a Southwest flight. Kratz, me and 250 of my favorite people. Cattle calling it through. So, yeah.
I'm going to be in your neck of the woods coming up in July, going to Tampa. See Morgan Wallen.
He's not from Tampa.
I know, but he said he could drive. I know, he's in Orlando, but he said he could drive to Tampa.
He doesn't drive. It's I-4. He doesn't like traffic. He likes anything that's inside his gated community. The only person that stays home more than AJ is Todd.
Whoa. That is absolutely not true. Because I'm never
not true.
By the way, Fetty's supposed to join us on Wednesday. So, AJ, make sure you're here because Fetty's coming on the show on Wednesday. I'll be back with you guys all week long as Scott is off. I think Scott's at his sister's wedding, right? Is that where he is right now? Or is he lifting someplace or drinking AG1 somewhere?
No, Scott's living his private life right now on a yacht in Greece.
Yeah.
On a yacht? Oh, I actually believe that. Is that true?
No, it's true. It's true.
Oh, wow.
I'm hoping we're getting shirtless pictures of Scott on the yacht. That's all we need. That's it.
Yeah, glistening with the wheel.
His friend he's with, his girlfriend. Yeah, she's a good follow on Instagram. She's private though, but she's sending all the pictures. Scott, Scott likes to hide, but he's on like a 100 plus 200 plus foot yacht and in Greece in the Med, just sunning himself. He's going to come back bronzed.
I didn't realize that foul territory pays so well. That's great. Speaking of Scott, how about this Seat Geek read from Scott and our good friend Erik Kratz? Let's listen.
FT is headed to the MLB All-Star Game this year, and there's only one way you should be finding tickets for any ball game. SeatGeek is the official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, so they have you covered for all of your baseball ticket needs.
I'm super pumped to hit the Futures game this year. That new skills competition looks electric.
I agree, Kratz. It's like the Olympics for baseball. Cannot wait to see that. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. Baseball season's in full swing, and you don't want to miss out. SeatGeek has your tickets to every game and, of course, concerts, festivals, and more.
Every ticket's backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps.
And Kratz, FT came through for the people. Use our code FOUL for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code FOUL. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app, please.
Yeah, SeatGeek is awesome. Gotten a lot of stuff through them. They're legit. And if you make a mistake, they don't crucify you like some of the other folks do. All right, time now for, what are we doing, guys? We're doing better than box score. So obviously you can take a look at the box score, but this goes a little bit deeper than that, right? I think one thing we need to talk about is Erik Skubal. This guy is legit. Could very well be the AL Cy Young Award winner, dropping that ERA, guys, to 1.92 after another stellar performance. He just strikes guys out, 10 Ks against the Brew Crew. Kratz.
I honestly have a little extra juice on this game, so I appreciate him getting over the 6.5 Ks that he was at. The Brewers cannot touch lefties. I have no idea why they can't. Fortunately, they've been ripping righties, so that's fine. But man, his stuff, and AJ, it keeps coming back to what AJ said when we had him on the show. It's like, this guy is a big dude. He was sitting next to AJ when we were in spring training, and he goes, this guy is just a big guy. And he's an intimidating presence on the mound that just doesn't walk many guys. And to get his ERA below a 2 at this point in the season is incredible. But he's doing it with punch-outs too, and he's the ace of this staff. He's the #1 of this staff. But who had Ranger Suarez and Erik Skubal as the leading Cy Young candidates at the whatever it is today, June whatever. 10th. Thank you.
Todd, I'm not going to call you the Todd father because I know people did that, and I would always give you crap about that because it's actually Todd Helton. That's the original Todd father. So I'll just call you Frazier. No, bullshit. That Todd Helton is the Todd father.
Todd Helton is not the Todd father.
The OG.
Todd Helton's in the Hall of Fame. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's the Todd father.
He can have the Hall of Fame, but he comes to Jersey. He's not the Todd father.
So Frazier gets the entire state. Todd just gets Cooperstown. All right. So Kratz was just talking about that imposing figure that Skubal is on the hill. Mm-hmm. How does that affect a hitter?
It affects it a lot. Like I was looking over here to Mike, my guy next to me, help me out. I was actually doing the form. Like his front arm kind of blocks the batter a little bit, and you can't see that ball coming through. So whatever pitch he throws, I know you got to be ready for the fastball, but for his other off-speed pitches, everything looks like it's going to be shot out of a cannon. His slider, his changeup, every pitch that he throws, you got to be ready for the fastball, but it comes at 96 plus, and then he breaks you off a little something of whatever he wants to throw. So the angle he's coming at, the way he's coming, and that arm and glove kind of blocks the view, and once that arm comes down, the hand's coming through already. So as a hitter, you're looking for a spot, and if you get it there, you can't miss it. And this guy's just been electric all year. To have a 1.92 ERA right now, as we're coming close to the halfway point, is really, really special for him. I'm glad he's having a good year.
AJ, you're an imposing figure yourself. I don't imagine that you'd have a lot of intimidation from a guy on the hill, but who was that imposing figure for you? Nobody? You're not scared of anybody?
Fuck that. If you were scared, get a dog. I know you love dogs a lot. Get another dog, but hell no. There was nobody I was like, I faced Randy Johnson at the end of his career. He was fine, but I mean, there was dudes I couldn't hit, but it wasn't like I was scared to go up there. I was like, I'm going to take my strikeout and go back to dugout proudly. But listen, I think I picked Tarek Skubal to win the Cy Young. So you keep going, Tarek, because I got your back.
Good job. Good job. How about the Orioles, first team in the bigs, guys, to hit the 100 home run mark? They have 102. They lead the league. They're also the first team in the majors this year to have 4 different players with at least 10 or more home runs. They're distributing the wealth, that club.
Can you guys name without looking, because I didn't know who had double-digit homers. Who are the guys on the team on the Orioles that have double digits?
Henderson, Rushman are 2.
Yep.
Santander.
Santander.
Well, he has 5 in the first 9 games of June. Anthony Santander does. Who's the 4th?
That'll get him up there.
It's got to be Mountcastle.
Mountcastle?
I was going to say Cowser. Wow. Okay.
No,
That's it. That's 4.
No, I'm not looking.
The fifth one.
Just so you know, I'm looking up Morgan Wallen tickets in Tampa.
Oh, go on July 12th. Go on July 12th. That's what I'm going. We can have a great time. Yeah, I'm flying on the 11th, going on the 12th. I'm flying. I've already saw him at Fenway last year. I'm going to Raymond James Stadium to see him. That's it, right? They only have 4, or
5.
do they have more than? They have 5.
5. Jordan Westburg.
Jordan Westburg.
Jordan Westburg and Rhino Hearns got 9. Like, they're almost at 6 right now. Like, I had no idea. But I wish I would have picked Adley Rutschman for the grand slam that he hit yesterday. That'd have been 50. Me and Todd would have had $50,000 in bonus bets. Come on, Todd.
That's my bad. My bad, dude. I was in Maryland. My bad. I was actually in Maryland, too. I should have went to the game.
Does this team have a hole, you guys? We know that they can rake. We know that they can pitch. Is their bullpen enough? I know Bautista is a huge loss. Is it enough?
Is it enough to what?
To win in the postseason.
To win the World Series?
Yeah, why not? I mean, isn't that the point?
Well, I mean, for most teams, no. It's to make the playoffs and then have a nice gee golly Willikers. They got to make a move. In my opinion, they have to make a move. Bautista, you're not going to replace Bautista because he was filthy last year.
Yeah.
I don't know that, like, Kimbrel could be good for 3 of the 6 games in the playoffs, and to me,
Kimbrel makes me very nervous. Very nervous.
Fair. That's fair, and that's his reputation. But you still need him in your bullpen. Do you want him closing? I don't know, but I know you don't want Yunir Cano closing because I don't think you can have a ground ball pitcher out there in the 9th inning. So you have 2 really solid pieces in those guys. So you don't need like elite amounts of trade candidates. But what closer's out there? Helsley? Like if you get Helsley, if the Astros continue to stink, Presley, I think would be available. You know, so those are to me, that's the level of guy that you need to get because their starting rotation, they have their 3 guys that I think would slot in. And if everybody's healthy, maybe they don't need a fourth starter.
Do you take Kenley? If Boston sells, would you want Kenley in there?
As your closer or just another? I think to me, he's on Kimbrel's line.
Literally, they're like tied in the saves list.
Oh, right, for their career. But I'm saying, like, as far as would I trust him in the 9th inning? Would the Rangers have trusted Spores last year or Leclerc going into the playoffs? No, but they did it.
Yeah, my big thing, I've said this a couple times. I want to see the Orioles because they only played the Yankees 4 games so far this year. So I want to see how they do against the Yankees again. I know I think they won 3 out of 4, but I want to see how they do against the Yanks at the end of the day. So the more games they play against them, I would see how they do. I know they got 2 big injuries with Creamer and Means. So I think the Orioles are going to be a really good team come playoff time. I just don't know yet just because I want to see them play the Yankees a little bit more.
Yankees with a 2.5 game advantage in the AL East. AJ, do the Yanks win the division or does Baltimore figure it out and win the division?
It all comes down to health. If they get Cole back and Rodon can stay pitching the way he's pitched, I think the Yankees can do it. Their bullpen's so good. Soto stays healthy. Their lineup judge the way he's swinging it. You know, it comes down to health for the Yankees for me. The Orioles, I know, are right there, and they're hot right now, and they're right on their tail. But I think that with the way the Yankees are going, if they obviously gigantic if they stay healthy, I think the Yankees will win this division this year just because of the start they got off to, the confidence they have, and the players that they have.
Yeah, not to mention they haven't even had Cole, and look at how much success that this Yankees team is having. Obviously, they need Soto back in there too, as was discussed and displayed over the course of the weekend. All right, before we move on to Shohei Ohtani actually increasing his distance as far as playing catch is concerned, and a suspension here with Noelvi Marte, suspension for performance-enhancing drugs. This is from Charlie Goldsmith. Noelvi Marte is serving a suspension for testing positive for a performance-enhancing substance. He's speaking with the media. Quote, in reality, it just appeared in my system. I really don't know how it came about. Unfortunately, that's as far as I know. I don't know. Is that excuse believable? How do you not know what you're? And I would think, I'm not saying he did it intentionally, guys. I don't know this gentleman at all, but you have to know as a professional athlete with this, how strict the rules are. You have to know what's in the stuff that you're putting in your body. Am I fair to say that, Todd?
100%. That's why when I played, I was so afraid to take protein shakes. If you want the truth, I didn't want anything unknowingly going into my body. I was afraid. You ask anybody I knew up here, they're like, oh, try this. I'm like, you are out of your mind. I was afraid to have green tea. Like I was so weirded out about the whole situation. He's got to know what goes in his body. I mean, is it believable? I mean, you hear this from a lot of guys that it happens to. Yeah, maybe. I mean, but it's your fault for putting that in your body. Like people, if you go to different places, sometimes they don't clean out the containers. Mm-hmm. And they have extracts of all these different types of things in there. So you got to do your homework and you got to understand what you're putting in. And maybe it was an honest mistake. Maybe it wasn't. It happens all the time. So it's like, I'm just kind of over this whole deal with people getting caught.
Yeah, I think you got to know what you're putting in there. You can't use that excuse that you didn't know what you were putting in your body.
Well, let's say this. Let's say he's saying the truth. He's telling the truth. And he didn't know. What would you do, AJ, if you tested positive and you're like, I have no idea? What would you do? How would you handle it?
Well, I'd appeal it. I'd be like, test me a million more times. I'd say I did not. I mean, I'd come out right away and say it. I don't know why he's been out for almost 2 months, 60 plus games now. I don't understand why now all of a sudden he's like, I don't know how it got in here. It brings up an interesting thing though, because I've had discussions with the Players Association and other people about this before, and I want to know what you guys think about this. I've said there should be stricter penalties for getting caught, and if you're in a multi-year deal, you lose your contract, things like that. And then the Players Association had a different thought. They're like, okay, let's say we do this. Let's say you're at dinner one night, wherever, pick a city. You don't know what's going on. There's a guy back there in the chef. That's a chef, and God forbid this ever happens, and they go, that guy, I don't like that player. I don't like Erik Kratz. You don't know why. You don't know the guy.
I could easily see that happening.
He just takes something, puts it in your food. You don't even know it's in there. Next day, you have a drug test. You failed. You lose your contract. You had no idea. Not saying this is what happened with Marte. Hypothetical, clearly crazy situation. But guys have said forever. Fernando Tatis, ringworm. Nelly Cruz, when he got caught when I was in Texas in 2013. Oh, I had a parasite in my stomach, so I took steroids to get weight back. I didn't know they were steroids, right? Things like this, right? A-Rod, I didn't know what I was taking, but I took them anyways. Things like right? It's like things like this where you're like, okay, Ryan Braun, right? These guys, you have to know, like Todd said, you have to be so careful. You have to know what you're putting in your body. And listen, if he didn't know, it sucks. But also, I know if I didn't know and I went down, I'd be fighting everybody to try to get this figured out.
Yep. You'd be loud. You'd have to be loud about it. And to me, the people who are louder about it, I know MLB doesn't, they're like, hey, you can't, you just have to, if you want to keep having your career, they've told some of these guys, they're like, hey, if you want to continue your career, let's just keep it silent, or let's tamp down how loud you are about this. But to me, the louder you are, the less guilty you look. Like you have to say your piece because they don't let you say your piece.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But you better be sure, if you're loud, that you really did not intend to do this. The louder you are, you better be damn sure that you didn't intend to take that stuff. All right, we want to welcome in John Greenberg, founding editor, senior columnist of The Athletic, friend of the program here on Foul Territory. I always appreciate you having coming on and taking a little bit of time with us. And so, John, you're here to talk about a number of things. But first, let's start out with a recent poll by The Athletic where players were surveyed. What organizations have bad reputations among players? And this is funny. You can see AJ with the hands like, see no evil, hear no evil. But I'm interested to hear what your findings were on this. Welcome to the show.
Hey, well, thanks for having me. We have two guys who played for the White Sox. They might disagree with some of the sentiments in there. I do disagree that like no one's ever said anything good about the White Sox and playing there, because I've seen how they treat players. Usually, like I know there's some people have some hard feelings, some people don't. But I mean, I do think that might be a little over dramatic. But right now, the White Sox do not have a very good rep in baseball. I mean, look at the last couple of years, last 3 years. It's just not. It's not great. And as AJ will know, we're trying to cover it up.
Wow. I played there forever ago now, so
Right.
it was different back then. But listen, Todd will tell you the traveling secretary there, Eddie Casson, is awesome. He'll do anything for you. The PR staff, Bob Bechtel and Scott Reifert, they'll do a lot of stuff for you. Now, the ticket guy, Mike Mazza, will do some stuff for you if you ask him. But listen, are there shortcomings in the organization? I don't think anybody's going to deny that, because you look at where they're at, analytics department, you look at where they are, pitching lab, hitting lab, you go to some of these places, even their spring training site, they're short. Now, why? I don't know. But, I mean, they travel the way other teams travel. They do a lot of stuff the other teams do. This could just be a lot of harsh feelings. Todd was there after me, so things might have changed. But, listen, it wasn't like when I went from the Twins to the Giants, it was like, whoa, I went to the big leagues, right? When I went from the Giants to the White Sox, it was kind of like this. But then when I went to like the Red Sox, the Rangers, then it was like another level of like, oh, wow, this is what the big leagues are like. So it's just depending on what you're used to and where you come from. If you go from the Yankees to the White Sox, I'm sure it's going to be a little bit different.
And they've added some stuff. They've added things in the hall. I don't know. Have you been back there to see the stuff in the hallway now? Right?
Well, I've seen it. Yeah. No, and they've done it, but they finally added a family room, right, for the families. Right. They never had. It was a suite up there, right? They added the pitching hitting thing down there where you can't get through the tunnel anymore. They've added more medical stuff. They've added all this stuff. I get it. It's just like they're always playing catch up. They're never in front of anything.
And I think the way last year ended, and the way when they had that fire sale, I think that kind of spread to other teams, right? Because everyone was so unhappy on that team and they were all trying to like escape. I do feel like that probably with some of these players put a bad taste in their mouth and kind of spread some bad words there. And then you look at the way they started this season, people look at it like, what the heck's going on in this place? It seems like a fiasco with the way they've started this season. So I get it. I get the negative vibes, and that's up to Chris Getz and the new kind of, change front office to change how players feel about the organization.
Yeah, and I think if you're looking back on it, when I got traded over there, I think this started with the whole LaRoche situation and Kenny Williams about his son, not being allowed to, hang out with the boys when he wasn't doing anything wrong. So, and then Chris Sale cutting up the jerseys. I was there for that too. And I'm like, what is going on here? This is crazy. So all, I guess, good fun, some of it. But what was your reaction to Pedro Gaffral's comments questioning the team's effort?
Yeah, that was bad. I mean, I didn't play, obviously, I haven't played like you guys have, so I don't know how you guys take when a manager says something like that in public. But every person I've talked to, including people in the White Sox organization, thought that was just a huge mistake. You're questioning guys' effort, which usually doesn't go well, when you're in that situation. And also it came right after they played, it's that game where it was Bradish, it was like a Cy Young caliber pitcher. I feel like that's one where you just kind of tip your hat to the pitcher and you move along publicly. And if you've seen stuff behind the scenes with your players, you talk about that privately. That didn't play well. And you could see the quotes, like immediately they went to the players after that. And the players I think Corey Lee kind of said, well, that's his opinion. And I feel like if someone ever says about you, well, that's just your opinion, it's not good, right? That doesn't mean they agree with your opinion of their opinion. So It didn't go well. What would you guys think when a manager would say something like that publicly?
Yeah, you start questioning any and everything, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, like, oh, who's he talking about? What's going down here? Why does he think this way? Why didn't we have a meeting about this? Everything will come into question, and then now you got to go out and play ball too. So it makes it for a different ball game after that.
John, let me ask you this. I remember kind of going back to what you were talking about how the Chicago White Sox are up there amongst players of terrible reputations. What's the criteria? I remember when AJ Pollock came from the Arizona Diamondbacks as a free agent to the Los Angeles Dodgers during spring training. He walked in, and Jock Peterson, who was still with the Dodgers at the time, basically, I mean, AJ had been in the league for quite some years. And he walks into the Dodgers spring training facility at Camelback, and Jock Peterson was, welcome to the big leagues. There's a big difference in terms of, in Jock's opinion, obviously, in terms of the Diamondbacks to the Los Angeles Dodgers. So what was the criteria among this poll of players? What were they judging against?
I don't think there was anything specific you were supposed to ask these guys. It was more just like general questions you're asking guys in the clubhouse. I don't think they were doing the actual ratings like Clubhouse 7, 7 out of 10, like traveling secretary this. I think it was more of just a general feeling about things. But I would agree that maybe like, more I'm sure I don't know if teams do, if they survey their own players, but they probably should, to see like, like exit interviews, like what should change, what's better. I would assume those are more general conversations you have with guys. It's kind of funny. I asked Liam Hendriks, because he was in town with Boston, if Getz asked him in like kind of an exit interview when he told him he wasn't picking up his option, which we knew they weren't going to, if he asked Hendriks, who's, certainly outspoken, what he would change or what he should focus on. But Liam said that that the conversation didn't go much farther than we're not picking up your option. Good luck.
Yeah, you would think that would have been some good information to get on the way out. A guy that's been on different teams and
not shy.
Not shy. He'll say what he means, mate, for sure. But what do you feel like the chances are of Luis Robert getting traded? Because I said this before they even traded Cease at the beginning, before the season ever even started, spring training ever started, and our White Sox correspondent, AJ, gave me never happened. You got to build around that guy. And to me, his value was at its highest. Is there a chance he actually gets traded, or is this just I call it a Mason Miller type of thing, because I don't think Mason Miller's getting traded, and everybody talks about Mason Miller getting traded.
I think it's probably leaning more towards a Mason Miller situation. I think Chris Getz would have to be so overwhelmed with an offer it's not realistic, right? Like when people talk about the kind of offers that, are going to happen to get a guy like this, I don't think it would be realistic enough for him to make the move, because you're going to have some guys that are ready to play now, like not the top prospects who are like, the Class A guys down the road that no one knows what's really going to happen with them, but they got to be more like AA ready guys. Now, what team is going to give away all those guys for Luis Robert, who's had injury issues? I just don't see it as being super realistic. But, especially in today's market, I feel like back in the day, it would have been where general managers were more likely to take wild swings because they're not as beholden to all the data they get when they run these numbers through their machines. So like, I don't think it's going to be realistic from now. And I kind of agree with AJ. You're putting together a product. This is an entertainment product. This is a team. Like, it's not just a theoretical exercise to see how many prospects, to see where you end up in a prospect list. Like, you've got to put together some kind of product. And like, you have Luis Robert signed to a very club friendly deal. I don't see the point of trading him. And, Crochet, the only reason maybe is because he's a couple years away from being free agent and this is his first good year. But I would keep those guys. I mean, Jerry Reinsdorf did say he wants to get this turned around quickly. So it's not going to go any quicker if you trade away your only good players.
Yeah, but here's my theory. Other GMs that get GM jobs, that become general managers, have no playing experience. Not a fault to their own. Just a player understands when there's value. And I don't think Chris Getz needs to be in this job for 5 to 7 years. Most GMs are making moves that are like, well, in the next 5 to 7 years, we're going to have this. To me, if Jerry really wants to turn this thing around quickly, can you get on-field players that are going to help your team win in the next 3 years? And to me, if that value gets you more players in that time span that you would only have Luis Robert for anyway,
Right.
why not try to get him and be a player and like change the game a little bit? Because they have to do something drastic, in my opinion.
I think it's a great point. I think if you have to have a front office capable of identifying those guys, like you see it all the time with the smarter teams that make moves like this and they replace, to use the line from the Moneyball stuff, that I replace them in the aggregate. I haven't seen that really from the White Sox and really not that much from the Cubs either. Some covering teams in Chicago. So yeah, I agree with you, Erik. I just don't know if they're going to be able to get that done. We'll see. I mean, I'm all for Chris Getz making all the moves he can to make this team better, because I'm kind of tired of, as much as like the White Sox disaster stuff, people like to read it. It's, it's a good conversation starter in Chicago. I like the idea of the rebuild and seeing competent baseball again, like we saw when AJ was in his prime in Chicago. Because when the White Sox are good, the fans respond and the city responds. I know it's a Cubs city first and foremost, but like, I think a lot of people don't realize how popular the White Sox are when they're actually good. And the reason why is they're not good enough, enough times over the decades.
Take it easy now. I'm still in my prime, okay? Let's just establish that,
Hey,
okay?
prime, not your physical prime, which you are now.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we got that clear, because you didn't see me hit in London. It was amazing. All right, so I got a couple questions on this. One, the White Sox should have just been honest. They're not turning this around quickly, because the problem is Jerry won't spend the money they need to spend to turn it around, okay? We all know that. That's not a knock on Jerry. That's just the way he is. He wants to do it the long way, the hard way. I get it, okay? They should have been honest and just said, we're rebuilding when we brought in Chris Getz. We're going to give him 5 years. Obviously, they didn't want to do that because they've been through so many rebuild. Let's turn the page. Now, my opinion is if they trade Luis Robert, you mentioned the fans are going to be like, why? Why? He's under control. Garrett Crochet, he's under control. Let's build around those two pieces, and we'll figure out the rest. Colson Montgomery, Noah Schultz, whoever the other guys in the minor leagues, Edgar Quiro, whoever they decide are those pieces, that's what they should do. My opinion only.
Yeah.
Hey, the fans will revolt. What do you think they're going to do, and why didn't they just say we're rebuilding?
Yeah, that's a great. I mean, I was at that press conference, which didn't go great, and it was weird that there was like this. I was just like, it didn't make sense, right? It wasn't reality when Jerry's talking about rebuilding quickly, and I kind of found out later how he got about saying that, why he said that, but like. We were all like, this isn't a quick rebuild, because came after a fire sale. So like they didn't, and Han did a good job actually getting some of these prospects, but it didn't make a lot of sense. I've talked to Getz since, and he kind of realized he screwed up a little bit by not just saying rebuild right away. Like I think he thought, and I've seen it a lot with other GMs and presidents are like, they won't say rebuild now. And I don't really understand why, because fans are smart enough. They get it. They understand it. And like AJ, like you said, if you say 5 years, then you're giving fans like a timeline to think about and a way to judge this team. If you're judging this team on wins and losses right now, it's a disaster. If you're judging them on the prospects they're acquiring, it's a little less of a disaster. So I think they screwed up on the messaging of Getz taking over for those guys 100%. And I do kind of agree with you. I think the fans are going to say why with Robert. But I also think White Sox fans are so dissatisfied with the product in general that they're just unhappy. So, like, I don't think anything you do besides win is going to make them happy. And yeah, I don't see it. Like, it's so hard to see right now. And we judge it by the Cubs in this town because they had the rebuild they said it was a rebuild. They said it was going to take so many years. And then fans could start finally looking forward to Chris Bryant, Kyle Schwarber. And, when Jake Arrieta comes up, you can kind of see that coming. You just can't really see it right now with the White Sox. We'll see how Drew Thorpe's start goes this week in Seattle, but it's really hard to see a silver lining with this team right now. Maybe in a year we'll feel different.
True. All right. So I have to ask you two quick questions.
Sure.
One, they made all these trades. You're mentioning them, and I'm looking up the farm system rankings with all these trades. The White Sox are still kind of middle of the pack with all these trades. So have they done the right moves? And quick answer. Do you think they've done enough to make the right moves? And then I have one more question that I think you'll give a good answer on.
No, I mean, I don't. I mean, I think their farm system was so bad before they made those trades that they needed to make moves just to be middle of the pack. So that's why Chris probably needs to make some big deals this summer, and he needs to hit on them.
Okay, perfect. Hold on, Alanna. One more.
Okay.
Sorry,
Dang,
I know.
AJ.
I know. Listen, I'm a White Sox person. You talk Dodgers twice a week. I get to talk White Sox once a month. Okay,
that's fair.
What do you think, John Schifrin, in his fight he's picked with the media, and kind of picked a fight? I don't want to say with the fans because some fans are kind of behind him, some aren't.
Yeah.
But what's your thought, and how are people in the city talking about that? Because he seems like he's gone out of his way to try to, I don't want to say pick a fight, but just be like, I'm behind this team. Like the Martin Maldonado voting for an all-star, which was kind of a joke, and he turned it into something, right? Stand up for the haters. Like, what is he doing?
Yeah, that's kind of a question we've been talking about, AJ. Like Cubs Sox, that was a big discussion point, kind of like what's going on here. It's a little weird. I don't really know who's giving him advice or if he's just kind of taking his own advice here. He'd never done a team before. He's only done like national kind of stuff. So I don't know if he was overcompensating or what. I know I tried talking to him a couple times and he kind of didn't return texts. And then I went to him at the park and he just basically said he didn't want to talk. So it's weird. I don't really get it. I don't really get his process of trying to ingratiate himself in the city. The Tommy Pham call was the one that's like, you can't argue, like, you can't argue two sides of that call. That was just kind of nuts. And like people are laughing about it. And I kind of feel bad because he's a guy trying to start with a new team and the team's awful. So what do you do? So, he's got a lot of room to grow, I guess we could say.
We're talking with John Greenberg of The Athletic. And before we let you go, I want you to talk a little bit, John, about your recent article about how Jed Hoyer is kind of helping Chris Getz along in the new position. Obviously, Chris Getz new to the seat that he's in right now, and there's a budding relationship there. Tell us more.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting because, as AJ knows, Cubs and Sox, the organizations even have a little bit of rivalry behind the scenes, as well as the fans. So I thought it was interesting because I know that they've been friends for a little bit. Chris started off in the running the farm system, and now he got promoted to GM. It's just unusual for the GMs of the Cubs and Sox to be like actual friends. They live near each other in the Chicago suburbs. They get together with families. So I just thought it was an interesting column to do before Cubs Sox rather than just saying both these teams are terrible. Of course, the fan response on Twitter were like stuff like two losers, like these guys deserve each other, which was kind of mean. But, I do like both of them. And I think Jed says he'll give him advice, it's more not on advice on trades and stuff, just on like how to handle the media, how much should you travel? When should you talk to your team? Things like that, which I think is really kind of an interesting relationship. So, hopefully they can help each other out and give us some better baseball. Maybe they're trade partners again this year, kind of like with the big trade in 2017 with Quintana, Eloy, and Cease.
John, what's the state of the Cubs? You also wrote an article about the White Sox bullpen's terrible, but the Cubs are probably not back. What more can you tell us about that?
The Cubs aren't back. I mean, I think, they go to since they beat the White Sox barely, with two wild coming from behind wins, and they go to Cincinnati, and they drop a couple games. So like the Cubs are a real interesting team right now. I was at least happy to see Shota Imanaga have a good start in Cincinnati last night. Because he had gotten beaten up by the Brewers and the White Sox so much it looked like he was tipping pitches because they were just on everything. And the starting pitching has kind of carried them to mediocrity because they haven't hit consistently. Their bullpen's a disaster. Maybe it can help with some starters getting healthy, but it's not a great situation right now. And that's unlike the White Sox. We knew the White Sox were going to be bad this year. We thought that, the Cubs would be a little better, but they're playing kind of the low end of their projections right now. Guys it's the star players got to start hitting. People like Dansby Swanson, Cody Bellinger, they've got to hit. It's not that complicated, and they've got to make some improvements. Catcher, they've got to, get better bullpen. They've got Jed Hoyer's got some work to do this summer.
Yeah, no question about it. Cody Bellinger in the middle of an $80 million 3-year deal.
Yeah, I mean, he's, he could be a guy that could opt out after this year as well. He has kind of one of those flexible deals. So, he might not be going anywhere. He's been hitting okay. Christopher Morel's got some power. He's got some, obviously got to work on his defense at third. He's got to, work on some consistency. Ian Happ seems to be coming out of his early season slump, so that's a good sign. Seiya Suzuki's up and down. They've just got they haven't gotten hot yet, and they really need to get a good heater because good hot streak could win that division.
But wasn't this the work that needed to be done in the offseason that they never did because they're a small market team that's stuck in the fifth inning based on their words, not mine, not my words. Like this is where you should be if you did what you did in the offseason.
100%. Like, they got Imanaga, which was huge, right? They re-signed Bellinger.
Imanaga did good. Did good. They got him.
Yes.
And he's outlasted what they even thought he was going to do.
Oh, 100%, right? Like they were talking about him as like third or fourth starter. So he's been much better than what they said. You're right. I mean, they added Hector Neris and Yancy Almonte, and Almonte's been hurt, but they didn't do enough for the bullpen, especially since the bullpen, fell apart for David Ross at the end of last season. They didn't make any bold moves, and you can blame that on Jeb, but you can also blame that on the ownership and Tom Ricketts, who seems content on trying to win the Central. He's not trying to compete with the Dodgers and the Braves. He's trying to compete with the Brewers, the Pirates, the Reds. I mean, he's trying, and the Cardinals. And when you make those you have those 87 win dreams, this is what you're going to wind up with.
John, we appreciate it as always, the insight. We know the Cubs are not great. The White Sox are terrible, and hopefully the Bears will do something for you. I don't know. I'll see what happens there.
Yeah, right. We're excited about that. I said we're just about like there's a doomsday clock at the University of Chicago. The time for when he goes to nuclear war. We're going to do one for the Bears, right? For Bears season to start. Like we're really close to focusing on the Bears season and saying, wait till next year with baseball. AJ, I'm excited to see you for the 2005 reunion coming up at Sox Fest. Is that next year, right?
No. Who said I was coming? Who said I was coming?
Come on, you got to be like the star. You're going to like.
I was coming. Who said I was coming?
If you don't go, I'm not going. I'll say that.
Looks like you're staying home, John.
Hope you didn't book your tickets already. And by the way, Caleb Williams and Rome Meduzzi, they came up with the bear claw. I mean, yes. Bears fans, I'm a Bears fan. How did no one else come up with that before they did?
It's kind of amazing, right? And it's like, it's kind of a corny thing, but it's caught on because Caleb Williams looks cool doing it, right? And he has a smile on his face and he's doing it. I mean, are you going to retire your Jay Cutler jerseys and get a Caleb Williams jersey?
Oh, boy.
I do not have a Jay Cutler jersey, but I do have a Rex Grossman jersey and an Urlacher jersey. They're around here somewhere.
Well, yeah, Florida.
Urlacher, I can understand.
No, Rex is a Florida.
Hey, Rex took him to the Super Bowl.
Exactly. Rex and Jim McMahon. That's it, man.
John, thanks very much. We appreciate it as always. And guys, listen in on Foul Territory, obviously on the podcast and on YouTube TV. Don't forget, you can get a lot more Cubs action, if you will, on Northside Territory. There's another one of our partners. Look at this, Northside Territory. Multiple episodes weekly. If you want to hear more about the Cubs, check out our newest podcast, Northside Territory, with Patrick Mooney and Sahadev Sharma from The Athletic. That's just part of the family, guys. Foul Territory. Do you guys just text on your phone the whole time we're on this show? Like, I'm talking to you guys and you're just on your phone the entire time. Is that how this goes?
That's what we do.
That's Sometimes. What you do. Okay.
You haven't gotten any of the texts?
No, I guess I'm not in your group, on your group chat, unless you guys are talking about me on the group chat. Then that would be a little bit awkward. All right. Time now for
that's what he said.
What?
Alana, we'll just say it to your face. 1 and 2. Like between my phone and my iPad where I'm trying to look up stuff to talk about, it's kind of hard, every once in a while you got to look down because
I just didn't know. I mean, if you guys are like ignoring me or not, I don't know. This is my first time hosting. I don't know how this works. All right. Time now for That's What He Said. Bryce Harper.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That you would like to say, guys.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
Bryce Harper, who I'm a massive fan of, I would run through a wall for that guy, said that Major League Baseball should pause the season for the Olympics because he would like to play in 2028. And Todd, I'm going to defer to you because you actually got to play for Team USA in the Olympics. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. Opportunity came. I got released, which was a bad thing turned into a good thing. I got released by the Pirates. The next phone call to me was Paul Seiler from Team USA. Hey, we still need a third baseman. You're it. I said, say no more. So I became the third baseman. We had the Olympic trials, and I know I'd be remiss if not say it, but Kratz tried this too as well. He had the Olympic trials. Where were you, Kratz? And where'd you go to do it?
Japan. Well, we qualified in Guadalajara, and then
Yeah.
we went to Japan and lost in a walk-off to Mexico, and we didn't qualify, which ended up being a blessing for me. But we didn't qualify, and then you guys qualified in spring training, right?
Yeah, we qualified in Port St. Lucie, and then away we go. And nobody else picked me up after that, which was another blessing and a good and bad thing because you still want to play in the pros in the major leagues. And I got to go to Japan too as well, and we ended up getting a silver medal. And I tell everybody this, it's the best thing in the world. The pride you play for your country, the friendships you make, the people you meet, but you're playing for that USA across your chest. Everybody's gunning for you, and Bryce Harper said it best. I really agree with him 100%. Take 2 or 3 weeks off, whatever's needed, put a combined team together. Japan does it. We faced every player in Japan was a professional in that league, in the Japanese league there. So we were playing the best of the best. We lost 2-0. But I do feel if we have our best going down there and everybody else's, there's no chance we even lose a game, if you want the truth. We did. We put our best foot forward. But it's a great comment by him. I think it's the right thing to do, and I think they really have to look into this coming up in a couple of years.
Currently, only amateurs and professional players not on the 40-man roster, guys, are allowed to participate in the Olympics. AJ, do you see this as something that Major League Baseball would ever do? Like what the NHL is doing right now? They stopped their season for 3 weeks or whatever. I mean, not right now because it's the Stanley Cup Finals, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Do you see the big leagues doing it? No.
No, because MLB doesn't seem to ever do what people want. It seems like the right thing, and money, like Kratz is doing, and injuries are the big thing, and then the insurance on top of it. If, God forbid, somebody got hurt like Edwin Diaz did for the Mets last year and misses the rest of the season or costs their team potentially a playoff spot. I don't think they'll ever do it. Would I love to see it? Oh, hell yeah, I'd love to see this. Put our best team, pitchers ready to go in the middle of the season, against Japan ready to go, Mexico, you name the teams that are always in there, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Dominican. I think this would be awesome. I think this would blow the WBC out of the water if they did it and they did it right because of the timing. Now, will it happen? I don't think so because I just don't think that MLB will allow it. And I think that because people came out and said, everybody on earth was like, we want them to do this, MLB would still be like, it might cost us $1. We're out.
It would have to be about timing, too. The 2028 Olympics are scheduled for July 14th through the 30th. So it'd have to be that 2-week span in July. So basically the all-star break with an additional week. I would love, there's nothing I love more than the WBC. I love it. To be able to have big league players play in the Olympics, I would absolutely be locked into that.
And if MLB was so gung-ho on not having it, just have either shorter spring training or have a longer season. Just have it end later like this. Baseball's long enough. There's a shit ton of games. Okay. So you can make it those extra 2 weeks in, whenever, October, whatever you want to do. I don't know. This is something that needs to happen. We had no TV coverage and I thought it was a big shame. I'm not saying we had the big names, but for people to sit down and, watch the games, even in Port St. Lucie, I'm like, damn, we got no TV coverage for this, and we're playing for our country. I thought it was a shame.
What do you think about that, Kratz? You maybe you shorten spring training. I don't know how it works with the timing though, because obviously, you feel like position players are ready to go, but pitchers need time to stretch out and build up. Shorten spring training, and then the last 2 weeks of the regular season, are changed. I don't know. There's always an issue with timing and how it makes the most sense.
I saw somebody's proposal that you could push it into about a week and a half. So you figure you have 4 days already for the All-Star game. You figure out something around the All-Star game in the sense of it being a week and a half long tournament where you have the best players in the world who are already stateside. They're already here. The games will happen in Los Angeles. It would be elite because there's just a different there's a different feeling. You think about the dream team. You think about when pros started coming into the Olympics, it brought more money to the Olympics. So that's ultimately where it's going to go down. It's, yes, I get it. It's going to cost, like, the USOC does not have enough money to cover the insurance to have Ohtani play, to have Bryce Harper play, Mike Trout play, guys that are paying that much money. The WBC is backed by Major League Baseball. So there's a big difference in the USOC, United States Olympic Committee, being able to back that and pay for that insurance, but we can figure it out. And if you figure it out, it will elevate the Olympics. For me, it's already elevated. I'll watch ping pong all day. I'll watch curling in the Winter Olympics all day.
Mm-hmm.
I need those sports, and that's what drew me to wanting to play for Team USA. And I think Harper's saying that now because he's seeing he won't be around in his prime for the next Olympics. He'll be 35 for this Olympics that's coming up in 2028. It's time to do that kind of stuff. And you'd be a World Series champion. You'd be a gold medalist. You have an opportunity. Like, it's just something that he hasn't been able to do. He played for USA before, but I think it'll be huge. But I doubt it'll happen.
True, agreed. And then what's a better way to grow the sport? MLB wants to grow the sport internationally than the Olympics, right? It's in the North America, so you have a huge stage. You have everybody already tuning in, and it's a shame. Like Todd talked about, that people weren't watching those games. They weren't able to watch those games when Todd and his teammates were fighting to get a berth and then get into the Olympics. But we saw the ratings for the WBC. We saw what Japan did ratings-wise. You want to grow the game? MLB? You want to grow the game internationally? MLB? Get the Olympics figured out. Get it out there. Because, listen, Paris is coming up in a couple weeks. If you had baseball in Paris, next year baseball was supposed to go to Paris. They're not going there now. I'll let you Google why. But you want to grow it? You have the Olympics in 2024 with baseball. Guess what? 2025, MLB could put on a game there. But it's not there, and it doesn't help them grow.
Yep.
So is it the best players in the game that get to play, or is it the most popular? A la Caitlin Clark versus not Caitlin Clark?
No, best of the best.
Best of the best.
That's the best.
Okay.
I want the best. Trout versus Ohtani. Here we go.
Yeah.
Remember that at bat?
Yeah, absolutely. No question. All right, Todd, we're going to say goodbye to you. I know that you're stepping off now. It's going to be just me and AJ and Erik for the rest of the show. We will see you later, my friend. Have a good rest of your afternoon, and we're going to get ready to welcome in our next guest here on Foul Territory as we get ready to talk about the Kansas City Royals. This is a team, guys, that is a lot of fun. This is a team that we thought perhaps could improve from 2023, but I'd say they're doing a lot more than just improving. I mean, this is a team that can win the AL Central and head to the postseason. So we're going to be talking to Ann Rodgers here momentarily. But before we get to Ann, AJ, let's talk about this AL Central matchup. I mean, there's two really good teams in it, kind of battling it out. But the Royals, I think, are probably better than we gave them credit for.
Agreed. I think Kratz, did you pick them to win this division?
I didn't. I had them in second.
So somebody did, and no one thought the Guardians would be where they're at right now. But listen, this is an example of a team having prospects that have come up, some veterans they kept, a la Salvi, and some of the other guys they have that have been there a few years, Pasquantino and some other guys. And then you add a Lugo, you add a Waka, you add pieces. Then you get Bobby Witt Jr., you sign him. This is what can happen in a team, and especially in a division that's winnable. This is the model that teams should be after. A Pirates, right? A Reds who try to do it, but the Pirates are more of an example. Even the White Sox. Develop players, keep the right core of veterans, go out and sign guys to supplement your roster. This team is intriguing to me. It's interesting. They are fun as hell to watch. I don't know how many Royals games you watch. They're always in it. They're running the bases. Yesterday, the tying home run late by Melendez, they ultimately lost. But this team is fun to watch.
Yeah, no question about it. We're going to welcome in Annie Rodgers, who does a great job covering the Kansas City Royals for MLB.com as we get her on Foul Territory. Annie, thanks for being with us. We really appreciate it. Welcome to the Foul Territory platform. Let's talk about this Royals team, a team that's really exciting to watch. You just heard what Erik and AJ were saying about them. What has been kind of your overall view, the biggest takeaway that you've noticed so far?
It's been a pretty crazy turnaround just from last year, 106 losses, and there were a lot of questions. But like you guys said, the Royals, they went out and they added some pieces. They added, pieces on the margins, and then got some guys they knew they could help that could help them. And it's been pretty incredible. I think the biggest thing is just their ability to come back in some of these games. I mean, Friday night it was unlike any game I've ever seen, and having Bobby Witt Jr. up in that spot, the crowd was electric. It was so much fun, and this team, there's just something about them that they just come back and they're not afraid to play until the very last out. It's all 13 position players. They all know that they can put together some good at bats there in the late in games.
The guys that they had up last year, would you say they were maybe a little overwhelmed by the big leagues, not ready for the big leagues, or it's always talked about, all these veterans. Well, Salvador Perez was here last year. Like, Bobby Witt was a young guy who had an unbelievable year. What were these players just not ready, or did they need more guys around them that helped them get ready?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think they were ready to get to the major leagues. They needed to be in the major leagues last year. It was just a matter of, they had pieces to help them in the clubhouse, but bringing in the specific guys that they did this offseason with Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, you have Salvi there already, but then you add Hunter Renfroe, you add Adam Frazier. Those guys know how to win, and they know how to steady a group of young guys throughout the whole season, when there's so many ups and downs throughout a long season. I think that's been the biggest thing, is that there's just been this steadiness in the clubhouse. When things might not go right one day, there is an immediate turnaround to the next day, and how they can pick it back up and win. And that is something that we did not see last year. So I think it's been really beneficial, both on the pitching side and the hitting side, that they brought in more than just, the guys that they had last year, and they targeted the right kind of players personally, and then also, obviously bringing talent onto the field.
Annie, what's been the biggest difference, do you think, in Seth Lugo's performance? I mean, this is a guy that could very easily be in the conversation for the AL Cy Young Award lead. 3.34 career ERA, but so far this year, 2.13 ERA at 34 years old. So it's like he and Salvi Perez kind of going backwards, a little Benjamin Button type of situation, performing younger than their age would suggest.
Yeah, I guess so. It's, age is just a number, right? With Seth, it's about attacking the strikes. I mean, so it's simple to say it, harder to do. Obviously, you guys know, but for him, he uses his 8 pitches or whatever it is on any given night and throws them in the zone and challenges those hitters to beat him. And usually they're not beating him. So it's just been really impressive to see him. He's another guy. I talk about the steadiness. He is the same guy every single day, no matter what. He had a rough start against the Guardians last week, and he was talking post game just about how he was ready to move on to the next start. He talked about the pitches that they hit, said he was still happy with the pitches, and you kind of move on from that. So they're happy to have him here for sure, and especially happy to have him go tonight against the Yankees. This is going to be a big series.
All right, so Seth Lugo is attacking the strike zone. Salvador Perez is not leaving the strike zone as a hitter. What change? Did anybody say anything coming into the season? What change did Salvi make before the season? And is this sustainable? Because every year he has a great first half, but it's held up by batting average. This year it's held up by on-base percentage and a really good batting average too, but it usually craters later on in the season, and he has just a little bit above average season.
Yeah, he's not chasing like he usually does. He's hitting the ball hard. He's doing everything that he's always done, while also not striking out a ton and getting on base more. It's been fun to watch him. I think he's he loves winning, and he wants to bring Kansas City back to playoff baseball. And so having all these young guys kind of inject the clubhouse with some energy, I mean, I think he's feeding off of that. But on the flip side, they're feeding off of him too. Like they love seeing this out of him. So as far as what he's changed, he's told us, hey, I've changed nothing. I'm just, I'm just a better hitter, and I'm getting better as I age. And, he doesn't want to talk about what's coming next or retirement or anything like that. He is here right now, and he's ready to win. And I think he's having as much fun as all the younger guys are right now with the way things are going in Kansas City.
Or is it getting him off his feet and he's not behind the dish as much as he had been? Is that part of it too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, very well could be. And the thing is, he trusts Freddie Fermin too back there when Freddie steps in as his backup catcher, and that's a really cool relationship. I think Freddie learned so much from Salvi, and Salvi loves watching Freddie back there. And then Salvi can play first base or DH and kind of get him off his feet. So it's a really cool relationship. I think there's a lot of trust both with Salvi, with Freddie, with manager Matt Quatrero, and that's what you need when you kind of have these situations.
Okay, so I got to ask, you're talking about the old grizzled veteran that, Kratz, but Bobby Witt Jr. has come in to be a superstar. They signed him to this huge deal this offseason spring training. Now here he is. He's living up to all the hype. How good can he be? And what does this signing mean, not only for the Royals, but for the city of Kansas City, because of how much they've got behind the Chiefs and all their winning? Now they have their Patrick Mahomes as Bobby Witt Jr. for the Royals.
Yeah, Bobby talks about it all the time, how he sees what they're doing over there on the other side of the parking lot with what the Chiefs are doing, and how the city kind of rallies around those guys and Patrick Mahomes. And Bobby wants everyone to be wearing blue throughout the summer and supporting the Royals just as much as they support the Chiefs. And he is hell bent on bringing winning back to Kansas City, just as Salvi is. It's been cool to watch, and Bobby he's a superstar in the making. He does everything you can possibly do on the field. I mean, he can hit, he can run, he can play defense. He can come up in big spots, as we saw Friday night. It's really impressive, and there's not usually a game where he's not impacting it at some point in the game, whether it's on the bases or in the field. Just what he's able to do on a nightly basis. It's really fun to watch. I hope more people are taking notice across the country. If they're baseball fans, you're probably a Bobby Witt Jr. fan, just because of everything that he kind of embodies and what he does on the field. I think the sky's the limit for him, really.
How much credit does Q get? How much credit does Matt Quatrero get for being a steady, same guy every single day, even when they were losing a ton of games? He's now, because I heard players and staff say, he's still the same guy as he was last year when we were sucking.
Yeah. On June 10th, 2023, he was the exact same guy as he is today on June 10th, 2024. And the records are completely different. But he's answering questions the same way. He is treating the lineup the same way. He's, the matchups and everything. It's all the same. He's as consistent as possible. And, at first I was kind of like, wow, is this really, like, how can he do this? But it is who he is. And I think those guys in the clubhouse, they're feeding off of that. They echo what he says about it being a day-to-day game and not getting too high and not getting too low and turning over to the next game, as quickly as possible after tonight's game finishes. So, it's really, I was really interested to see kind of how he would manage this team now with some more veterans. And he's done a really good job. You can tell people in that clubhouse trust him, and that's really nice to see.
We're talking with Annie Rodgers of MLB.com, does a great job covering the Kansas City Royals. It's not going to be easy over the next 7 games. Annie, of course, they welcome in the New York Yankees tonight. They have Seth Lugo on the hill for game 1. And then they hit the road for a road trip, and their first opponent is the Los Angeles Dodgers. Do you, as the reporter covering them, see these next 7 games as a litmus test? Do the players see it that way? What's your approach?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, how can you not, right? The records are what they are, and these are 2 really good teams that the Royals have to face. They're filled with superstars up and down the lineup. I think it's going to be a challenge, but the Royals, they've passed these litmus tests before this season. I mean, there's been tough stretches throughout. I don't think as tough as a stretch as this next week will be, but they have passed, the challenges that we've brought up about the schedule already this season. So it's gonna be fun. I think there's challenges up and down, whether it's on the pitching side or the hitting side. But I think if the Royals come out of this week knowing that they can be competitive with these teams, that's a really good sign as we move forward into the summer.
Annie, you mentioned going forward. They're almost halfway there, right? They're still behind the Guardians, and they've played great. Will they make the move, though, to help them continue this, get into the postseason, and maybe make a deep run in the postseason? And what is that move? What do they need? Do they need a starter? Do they need a bat? Do they need a bullpen guy? What and who is out there that you think they could go get?
Yeah, they're contenders right now, and they're going to act like it. They want to add to this team, not only because they want to get back to playoff baseball. They also recognize that a lot of these guys that we've talked about, they signed here to play winning baseball. So you need to do everything you can to honor that commitment to Kansas City and add to the team at the deadline. I think the biggest target, I would say, is probably just the bullpen, that you can never have too much good pitching. So, there's been a couple of games that they've lost because of the bullpen arms. So they need to go out and get some, high leverage guys who they can bring in and, add to the back end of that bullpen. I do think there's a target. It can also be the outfield, just adding another reliable bat into the lineup to help lengthen that lineup. They've performed better as of late, but like I said, you can never really have too many good players. So I think the Royals will go out and try to find some guys who they can bring in and help this team win down the stretch, because as we've seen, which I don't think anybody could have predicted it, the AL Central is going to be quite the race as we get into the summer and the second half of the season. So I think the Royals owe it to their players and to their fans to go out and get some guys to help them out.
And Will Smith is there, so that automatically means that the Kansas City Royals are going to win the World Series, right, Annie? It seems like everywhere he goes, he gets a ring. What's been that topic of conversation, and how much fun has that been around that club?
Yeah, I think in spring training, a couple of guys were like, well, we have Will Smith, so why aren't you picking us to win the World Series? And I was like, well, that's a fair point. Okay, I get it. No, he's been great, too. I mean, you talk about the clubhouse presence. Even when he was struggling early on, he's been really good over the last month. But he's been really steady for them and helping out some of the young guys, and just another good presence. I think the Royals wanted him to come in and kind of bring that winning personality onto the team, and he's done that for sure. So it's been fun to have him. And he was a Royal 10 or more than 10 years ago, so he's enjoying being back.
All right, Annie, we appreciate it as always. Enjoy your coverage of this team. It's been a lot of fun to watch them so far, and hope to continue to talk about their successes. Thanks for being with us on Foul Territory. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, Annie Rodgers of MLB.com covering the Royals, guys. Let's shift our focus now to Chris Bassitt in Oakland. This is interesting. So much has been said, especially on this show, how much you guys appreciate the fans in Oakland and everything that they've meant to that organization, and just how shitty, honestly, they've been treated. My words, not yours. Chris Bassitt was in Oakland recently, and he said after striking out Miguel Andujar in the 8th, he picked up some dirt from the Coliseum mound and put it in his pocket. He said, quote, "I don't know if I'll ever see this place again." And Bassitt seems to be, guys, just a beginning of a string of players who will probably do similar things in a stadium they may never play in again. I just want to get your take. I mean, obviously you guys had very long careers. These are not just buildings. They're sometimes they're institutions. There's a lot of memories in between those white lines. And if the walls could talk, right? Do you anticipate a lot of guys, trying to take a piece of the Coliseum with them?
A piece of it. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it was creative. It was creative that he got dirt. I'm not good at collecting junk. Like, I don't think ahead like that. I think pitchers and wives are really good at like thinking ahead.
Collecting
and
junk.
Save that.
Or wives good at collecting
junk, but just like, hey, remind me to pick this up or get this. But I think it's cool. I think, especially for Bassitt, who essentially reinvented his career there and gave himself this career that he has had in the years going forward. So to me, that's awesome for him.
Listen, I took when we played our last game at Yankee Stadium, I took a little jar of, I don't even know what it was, and filled it up with dirt from home plate at Yankee Stadium. I still have it. Even though the Yankees were cool enough to give every player there a little plaque with a piece of dirt, like a little section of dirt cut out. I went out and got my own. I still have it. So, I mean, things like this are cool. The problem with Oakland is if you took too many pieces, the place might fall down.
It might fall down around you.
Yeah, like if you went in the shower and took out a drain, there might be more poop that came out of the drain.
Oh,
I mean, it's true. It's happened, Alanna. I've seen it. So I mean, it's just
I don't doubt it.
It's just not the greatest place on earth, but I've had a lot of good memories in that place. I've had a lot of great games, and these places are cool. It's a shame that Oakland's losing their team, but Chris Bassitt had a special time there, a special run there. And I love that they're bringing back guys like I saw Tim Hudson on the broadcast, Mark Mulder. They're bringing back some of these guys to give them one last shot to go into Oakland. Let the fans respect them and say their goodbyes to them, and let these ex-players go back to these fans that were so great and say goodbye and say thank you to them.
What's your most prized piece of memorabilia? I see a lot of baseballs behind you. Obviously, Kratz has the bats and the balls and the photos. What's the one thing, AJ, that if you had to pick one thing out of your collection that means the most to you, what is it?
I mean, I think Kratz would agree. It starts with the World Series ring. That's it. I mean, that's the one thing that no matter what happens in this game, they can never take it away from you. And then, you can see the mask over this shoulder right here from a perfect game. That's probably a close second.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about you, Kratz?
It's got to be like the team autograph stuff for me. Outside of the rings. The rings were, we joke about it, but even second place rings are cool because what went into winning those, and that's where you're like the relationships that you have. But a lot of my like team signed stuff, like I have a team signed chest protector from the first Team USA that I played on. I have a bat from the 18 team that I played with the Brewers. Team signed stuff. My teammates, like all these bats back here, are teammates that sign stuff for me. So I have a huge box of bats that can't be displayed.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I'm speaking obviously just from a reporter's perspective. I certainly don't have the same perspective that you guys do, but, I had the opportunity to cover 7 no-hitters in person. And, 3 for the team I covered and 4 against the team I covered. And, having Clayton sign the photo and Josh Beckett after Josh went under thoracic outlet syndrome, and obviously Ubaldo Jimenez, the first for the Rockies. That's pretty cool, that type of stuff. And, obviously our World Series rings too with the Dodgers, the 2 second place NL pennants, and obviously the World Series in 2020. So it's all incredibly special. And I'm very grateful to have had the career and worked for such amazing organizations. All right, guys, I don't know if you know this, but injuries suck. Let's get to it. I hate this for Alek Manoah. I mean, since his all-star year, it's just been such a weird time for Manoah, but he's going to have that UCL surgery on June 17th. His season's over. Kratz, what's your take?
Sucks. It sucks because if you watch when he got interviewed and he came out of the interview, it was like you felt for him because he had kind of turned the corner. Maybe not completely turned the corner, but he had kind of turned the corner and gotten through some of those struggles, started throwing strikes, and you could just tell there was something like he knew there was something wrong in there when he had come out of that game, and it was a post-game interview. They didn't know the images yet, but you feel for him because there's it's probably not what he went through. It's the fact that what he went through is now piled on top of the long rehab process that's ahead.
AJ, do you think because he was trying to get back to the all-star guy that he was, that perhaps he was changing things up too much, tinkering too much, and maybe that's what caused the UCL? Or you're shaking your head no? So I'm off base on that. Okay.
No. I think sometimes we look for stuff that's not there. I think if you look at the history of the UCL, Tommy John bracing, whatever you want to call it, it just comes, it's like every pitcher is going to have it.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of when. It's just, everyone's going to have it. It's just a matter of when does it happen. And for him, the timing just sucks. He was finally getting back to being Alek Manoah. He's had a couple good starts in a row. He looked good. He looked like he was commanding it again. And then boom, this happens and it just sucks. Like injuries suck, we know. But gosh, it just seems like every pitcher, there's like it's like a car, yeah, right? You're like, there's a warranty on this little thing right here. And like eventually the warranty goes away and then it pops. You get it fixed. You come back for 5 to 7 years. And guess what? You go in and you get it done again. It's just the way it's gone. It sucks.
Yeah, he's most certainly done until 2026. The one bright spot for the what's up, Kratz? You got something else?
No, I was just gonna say, like, how recently was he in the minor leagues? Because he got optioned down, and I know this is something that this guy's an all-star. People will say, well, he still made a lot of money, all this stuff. Getting this in the big leagues is huge compared to getting this in the minor leagues because your big league insurance, it's big league service time, he's closer to free agency. It's not something that needs to be overlooked because just recently, I think it was 4 starts before he got hurt, he was in the minor leagues. And it could have, just like AJ said, your warranty can run out. You know, you want your warranty to run out on your car in your driveway. You don't want it to run out 100 miles from the nearest payphone.
Yeah, no doubt.
Look at Alanna. I'm not exactly sure of his service time, but you know what really stinks is he's probably going to get DFA'd after this.
I know. I'm looking it up right now to see if I can.
Or non-tender.
So?
Or non-tender. Yeah. Oh, he's going to miss all this year. He's going to be coming off of it. I mean, I'm assuming he's ARB eligible.
I don't think so. I don't
this
think
year
they
he was
DFA
at 2-63. That would put him at a full year's 3-63. So that would
But
put
I
him
don't think
ARB eligible.
But you could non-tender
Yeah,
him
he's ARB eligible in next season. He only has a bit over 2 years of service time.
So he'll have
So
3.
Yeah.
He'll have 3 by the end of this year. So he would be ARB eligible. They could give him what's his. I gotta look up what his salary is this year. But I think to me, you don't get. I don't know, because then some other team could take him, pay him a low salary for his injury year, and have 3 years of control of the Alek Manoah.
Yeah, it stinks.
It's
The whole situation.
It's going to be interesting to see what the Blue Jays do.
But that is stuff. What I said, what AJ said, that's the stuff that players think of when it's like you get hurt. For me, man, you got hurt in the big leagues. That is huge for that guy. But now, do they non-tender him? Does he become a free agent? He'll sign a 2-year deal because a team will rehab him. I mean, there's plenty of guys. My buddy just had that happen with the Dodgers. He got hurt from the Rays and in 2022, and he rehabbed all of 2023 with the Dodgers, and now he's back in 2024.
Trinan, who are you talking about?
JP Fireisen.
Oh, Fireisen. Yeah, it stinks. I mean, does this just go to show you how fast this game can kick you right in your teeth? I mean, you're an all-star a year and change ago, and now you're having UCL surgery. You don't have any sense of what your future holds, and you're coming off the last 6, 7, 8 months that have just been absolute horseshit.
Have you ever heard the saying, right when you think you've got this game figured out, Alanna, it kicks you right in the nuts?
Yeah,
well,
it
that's
does.
what happens. Every time you think you've got it, you're like, oh, I'm 10 for 15. I made a little adjustment in my stance. Oh, here we go. And then all of a sudden you're 0 for 20. And you're like, wait, I didn't change anything. What happened? And then you're like, I'll never get a hit again. And then you go 10 for 15. You're like, I got it again. And you just keep falling into the cycle. It's a really hard game. It's a very humbling game. And just when you think you got it figured out, it kicks you right in the nuts.
Should there be more of an emphasis on like the mental side of this game, like younger in your career? Or is that something you just have to get kicked in the nuts to figure out?
You have to fail. I think you have to fail, and I think it's a privilege to fail in the minor leagues. Because if you don't fail in the minor leagues, doing it in the big leagues, you can find less and less people that can sympathize with you because you've never failed before that. You've never failed, and it can be tough. But the mental side, teams I think are – the teams I played on have been leaps and bounds ahead on the mental side. I was drafted by the Blue Jays. We had Harvey Dorfman, like the author of The Mental ABCs of Baseball. Now every team has a mental skills coach. They probably have 3 for the lower levels, and then they have one for AAA in the big leagues. So you're almost always easily accessible to a mental skills coach.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's important. Not only are we talking about, of course, Alek Manoah, we're talking about Kyle Tucker, who really was the one consistent piece for the Houston Astros this year. He's on the 10-day IL with a shin issue. This one does suck because Kyle was the one guy that was kind of giving them good, consistent at-bats. He continues to crush, continues to put together very solid offensive years very quietly. This hurts a team that's already hurting, AJ.
It does, and hopefully he'll be back soon. 10-day IL shin. I mean, Anthony Rendon missed a bunch of time. I remember Jermaine Dye broke his shin on a swing one time on a foul ball, but most of the time you can bounce back from a shin. This is supposed to be a really bad one, and I hope he gets back soon. The Astros definitely need him. He has been their best offensive player. He was in line to make a run at the AL MVP before he went down. He's still there, but he's got to get back quickly. But this sucks. I hate when guys get hurt.
I never hit the ball hard enough to hurt my shin for that long. But AJ, did you ever have where you hit yourself in the leg, you hit yourself whatever, foul tip, and then you get on a plane and it blows up? You have a bad reaction, or did you ever see guys that had that?
I stayed inside the ball crat, so I didn't hit a lot of balls off my shin. I was really inside of it, So, But no, I saw. We used to always. Our trainer Herm used to have this white little. It was from Asia somewhere, Japan, I think, and it was supposed to keep the swelling down. So if you ever did have a bruise, he'd wrap whatever your bruise before you got on a plane, and you'd have to wear it on the plane and take it off. And so yes, but I've heard stories about guys' legs swelling up, parts of them swelling up. So. But again, I stayed inside the ball crat, so I didn't do that a whole lot.
Just wear compression socks, Kratz. Just wear those compression sleeves. You'll be fine.
You know what? It's funny. I actually used to do that about 2008, 2009-ish. Nike came out with a pair, and I used to wear them all the time. I used to sleep in them, and I used to wear them on planes after games. Especially like it was like day game after night game. I knew I was playing. I'd wear because it would help your blood flow in your legs. So I still have them. And I still wear them every once in a while.
Still have them. Yep. I got
worst injury you ever dealt with, Kratz?
Oh, I compacted my big toenail into underneath the rest of the toenail. So it split my toenail in half, and that half that broke off went underneath the rest of the toenail. Easily the worst. If you want to get any information out of me, you want to do something to my toenails, that is the like rip a toenail off. I'll be like, no, I'll tell you whatever. AJP sitting down. All secrets. That's it.
Toenail? That's your big injury? You had a toe. You broke a toenail.
That's the worst. I'm telling you. It was so painful. That was it. I didn't play that much, AJ. I don't have a lot of injuries. As
Rod said in the chat, truly pathetic. His words, not mine. His words, not mine.
What's yours, AJ? All right.
Rod,
then did you have the limb that fell off?
I've broke my wrist, played in 2 weeks. I shredded an oblique, played in 2 weeks. I did one time in Kansas City. Zach Greinke, screw him, hit me one time in the back foot with a slider, and he blew up my blood vessel under the nail. So I had to cut my shoe open. I literally had a hole in my shoe during the game because I kept playing. I had to, because it swelled up so much that I had to cut my shoe. So I had little flaps on the toe of my shoe. Finished the game, and I went in. I never had this done before. It's when they take the hot needle and they freaking put this thing on fire, and it's and then they stick it down into your nail, and it goes through, and then the blood literally squirts up to the ceiling. It squirts up 20 feet in the air. I've never seen such a thing, and it doesn't even hurt. And
immediately regret asking this question. I immediately regret asking the two of you what your worst injury is. It's disgusting. All right, time now for our BetMGM. It is the MLB free game of the day. It's Athletics versus the Padres, boys. The MLB free game of the day, streaming on the BetMGM app. Live streaming is available to all BetMGM customers who are logged in and have funded accounts. So let's see. Let's tee up. What is this? So Friday locks and money bags. You guys do this every day? Let's see. Friday locks. So explain this stuff to me. BetMGM, a fantastic partner here on Foul Territory. I'm not much of a bettor, so tell me what this means. Cincinnati and Milwaukee for Scott, -30. What's that, Kratz?
It's Cincinnati's money line. Scott chose Cincinnati to win the game, and that was paying at -130. So he won it, and Kip is on he's on an AJ right now. He has not won once.
You better check them money bags.
So he picked the Atlanta money line and another money line, and he lost. So money bags looks like who's up? Todd's up a lot. Todd's up 28.65. Pap is up quite a bit. Scott's up. AJ's up. Erik, you're not up a ton. Does that mean that you're losing, or you're just not betting as much as these other guys?
Overall, no, I'm not betting as much as AJ has turned it around. Those 9 have come about in like the last probably 11 days that he's bet.
Yeah,
But he put a big old lump sum down on a couple of them, and so it got him back. But now, since then, since he got back on the winning side and he had up instead of down, he has been on fire. Not as on fire as Todd or Scott, but pretty close. And I've been kind of cold.
Todd's buying dinner. Yeah, 9-24, not the best record, but that's all right. Up 420. At least you guys are positive money on all this. Let's see what Pap has us for today in Pap's pick.
FT Nation, what's up? Pap here. Parlay Pap, back at you with my parlay, 2-game parlay. Pretty simple today. We got the Minnesota Twins going up against the Colorado Rockies. The Rockies, I think, have won 10 games on the road this year. And the Twins, I mean, hell, they get on base. I mean, they don't slug it very well, but they get on base. So I feel like you get guys on base against the Rockies at home, they should win that game. Number 2, I'm going against the Oakland Athletics and Brent Rooker. So I'm going to take the Padres tonight. Dylan Cease on the bump. Been throwing the ball like usual. I mean, going out there and dealing. So I'm going to take Dylan Cease, the Padres, and I mean, really, Rooker's the only guy on the Athletics. So I'm taking the Padres versus Brent Rooker. So let's get that money, baby.
All right, Minnesota money line, San Diego money line.
Pat must have a cold or something, or else he ran out of Red Bull, because that was a tame Pat video right there.
Yeah. What are your locks, AJ? What's your lock?
Well, I'm going to go because Todd and I, Mr. Todd, before I got hot, they called me the cooler, Alanna. But now that I'm hot, I'm the opposite of the cooler. I'm like the microwave. I'm like Vinnie Johnson back in the 80s. They brought me in to get people hot. All right. But Todd and I both are taking New York and Kansas City, that game, under 8.5. It's Rodon versus Lugo, two really good starting pitchers. I think under 8.5 is a pretty easy play. It's -110. We're both taking that, and I'm disappointed in Pap because he usually picks against the White Sox every game. So Kratz is taking the Pap turn this time.
I'm definitely taking the Pap approach because Logan Gilbert is going for Seattle. So I feel like I wanted to actually go first 5, but the first 5 was the under first 5 was 3.5. So I don't think either team's going to score many runs because they don't until the White Sox bullpen comes in, and then they start scoring runs. But I also took San Diego's money line for exactly the same reason that Pap said. Cease has been doing Cease things, and I feel like that's a great lock at +113.
What's the buy-in for this stuff? Like, if I wanted to get in on the locks of the day and all these things that you guys are doing with money bags, like, you guys just bet whatever you want?
You can. I usually do 100. I've done 100 every day. Scott's done 100 every day. It's been a little bit more Wild West for Pap and Todd, and normally it's pretty tame for AJ, but it got a little hairy there for a little bit. But AJ's come back around, and about 100 a day. Like for AJ's, he'd put 110 down to win 100.
To win 100. Okay, that's fair.
Alanna, here's the thing, Alanna. I was down at 1,300, and then I let it all ride one day and got back to 0.
There you go. That's why you just go to Vegas and play black 17 on roulette. You're fine. All right, here is Scott with today's BetMGM promo.
Swing for the fences. If you have the app, you can get single, double, homer, fly out, the whole deal. If you play the free promotion in the BetMGM Sportsbook for account holders, you swing for the fences. You have the opportunity to win a reward if you get a hit, and reward types include parlay boost tokens, odds boost tokens, SGP boost tokens, bonus spins if you're in a casino eligible state, and bonus bets. All rewards expire in 24 hours. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
AJ, you have a highlight, I was told.
Oh, yeah, I thought we were doing slap hands first.
Yeah, we are doing slap hands. Are we slapping? Do you guys tell me what slap hands is?
It's part of slap hands. Maybe
No,
Claudia wanted us to do your highlight first.
Okay, that's fine. I'll do as I'm told, unlike Scott. So yesterday there was a big game, Clemson versus University of Florida. We didn't do ump show today, but there was a complete and utter fucking ump show in this game. First of all, let me say this. There was a fight in the second inning that shouldn't have been. A guy got ejected that was a base runner. Then this guy, Canadella, I think.
Oh, that was a ridiculous catch.
Yeah, he hits the 3-run homer in the top of the ninth to tie the game. Okay. Bottom of the ninth, he makes this catch. Looks like Erik Kratz chasing a free dollar down the street in Pennsylvania. Look at him. Over the shoulder.
I'll never run after anything like that.
I mean, look at that. This is one of the best catches ever. Not only saved the game, saved the season. Like, the season's over if he doesn't make this play. And by the way, Clemson, can we get a warning track instead of a hill? Just asking for the center fielder out there. And then this dude hits his homer, spikes his bat, let the kids play, except for they were going to eject him for spiking him. This is a great pip job, by the way. This is Reese Hoskin-esque, right? Doesn't ever look at the Gator bench, nothing. And I'm a Gator fan. They were going to eject him. He's never yells at a Florida player. The coach for Clemson, look at him. They throw out every coach for Clemson. Erik Bassitt comes out, gets kicked out. Look at him. He's like, let's fucking go to the crowd. This is so awesome, right? They ended up losing, so suck it anyways, Clemson. Go Gators. But it's just an incredible ump show right here. I mean, this is the comeback, but Florida comes back, scores 2 in the bottom of the 13th. Yes, Michael Robertson got a big hit, but it was an unbelievable game, one of the best college games I've ever seen. Yes, they bunted. Yes, they got the bunt down. But it's just an incredible game, and it's a shame that the umpires got a little – because they kicked out their starting first baseman, and the guy who replaced him, no offense, is a freshman, had some big at-bats. But it was just an incredible game. If you like baseball, watch college baseball, especially in these playoffs. It is so much fun and the passion. And umps, let the fucking kids play. This is what we want. We want bat spikes and talking trash and everything. No one was harmed. It's all fun.
Did they throw him out? Did they end up throwing him out, or did they not?
Didn't throw the kid out. They didn't throw the kid out. So we didn't show it, but in the second inning, Jack Caglione was pitching. I think it was the second or third. And he gets, there's like a weak ground ball. He goes and gets it. He tags the guy. The guy shoves him, right? They kind of have a little shoving match. Well, there was a runner on second. He's coming around. Third out's recorded. He's going back to the dugout. He comes back, gets in the fight. The umpires threw the runner out, who had nothing to do with anything. They throw him out. He was the first baseman. The best part, the coach for Clemson, they're like, hey, number 3 is out of the game. He goes, okay, you tell him he's out of the game. So he goes, hey, number 3. Number 3 walks out of the dugout, and the umpire's like, you're out of here. And he's like, you got to be fucking kidding me. You can read his lips perfectly. Well, I didn't do anything. Why am I thrown out? And they asked the coach about it during the game. The coach goes, I wasn't going to tell him the kid was ejected. I'm going to make the umpire do it so he has to feel the wrath. And he did.
What a game. I almost went to Florida. I'm a Gator fan.
Yes.
I like the Gators.
Missed out, Alanna. Where'd you go instead?
University of Colorado, because I was from Colorado and I had to pay for school myself. My cousin went to UF. She's a Gator. So there you have that. All right, this is a cute story. This is Xander, guys. Every year since he was 5 years old, he and his family spend his birthday going on a trip to see his favorite player, Rowdy Tellez. Rowdy caught wind of this and invited him down to the field on May 31st in Toronto. Rowdy is hitting .444 with 7 RBIs and a 119 OPS since he got to see his little buddy Xander. I love stories. Rowdy's a good dude. I don't know him personally, but I've heard nothing but good stuff about him.
AJ and him have a rivalry. They're like two brothers.
What's the
First
rivalry?
of all,
Why?
Because Rowdy thinks he's a good player.
And AJ called him a liar too.
Why? What did he lie about, AJ?
What hasn't he lied about? But I will say this, Xander, call me. We'll find you a new favorite player, okay? Call me.
Oh, wow.
Chat me, DM me, whatever it is, because we need to find. No, I'm just kidding. This
He's
is awesome,
only-
Rowdy. This is awesome. I'm
5 years
kidding.
old.
This is awesome. It's awesome for baseball, awesome for Rowdy to do this, and I'm so happy that it coincided with him getting hot. Because listen, this is the future of the game and of fans and of baseball. Do the right thing. Be nice to these kids. Listen, as someone that played, it's not always easy because there are times you're pissed off, you're angry, you're not in a great mood. So do your best you can. Awesome, Rowdy, Alanna. Your alarm's going off. I don't know
No,
what's
you know
happening.
what that is? It means Dodgers territory is next. I always have like a 5-minute freaking reminder, and normally I don't host foul. So, by the way, stick around because Dodgers territory is next at 3:00 with myself and Clint Pasillas. By the way, Kratz hats. What are you wearing today, bud?
I feel like when we watch Dodgers territory, now I'm gonna think you have like Post-it notes everywhere, all over your computer, trying to remind you of things.
Bro,
and you're now a Post-it lady. You're a Post-it lady.
This setup is so bad. My freaking corner setup is so bad. I'm waiting for our boss, Mark Weiner, to give me a freaking backdrop so I can move out of the corner and actually have like a respectable setup. So when I do this show with you guys, I'm not an absolute shit show trying to stay organized. What hat are you wearing, man?
Well, I found out I had a Houston Astros Mother's Day hat. I mean, talk about didn't know I had it. Should have worn it on Mother's Day, but hey, got that anyway. So basically what happens is Scott and AJ usually rate this. So it's up to you. You have to rate it on a grading scale. Not a Florida grading scale because everybody gets B's in Florida, but a normal A to F grading scale.
I'm going to give it a big fat F. Because of what the Houston Astros did to the Los Angeles Dodgers in 2020. So that's it. I'm a big fan of moms. I love Mother's Day. Big fan of moms. I'm not a big fan of the Astros. I mean, this year's team is fine. That's far enough removed, but I'm going to go with a big fat no. Big fat F.
Okay.
I don't even have to grade it because that was just an awesome answer.
That was the best grading we've had in weeks.
By the way, Alanna, I was in London this past week, okay? And I went in one of the shops and they had London stuff. They also had this Columbus Clippers hat. So depending on how much you watch or listen to the show, Kratz about 6 out of we can do 5 days a week, 3 out of 5 days, 6 out of 10-ish days, he wears a Clippers or an Iron Pigs hat. So there was a Columbus Clippers hat, and I sent him a picture and I go, Kratz, what do you think of this hat? It's fire. Well, on the side, it had a patch of 2015 International League champions. And I was like, oh, were you on this team? I'll get it for you. He's like, nope, 2017. I'm like, oh, you're lucky. Too bad. Shit out of luck.
You're lost.
Not spending my 30 pounds on that hat for you.
2 years too early.
30 pounds?
Yeah.
How was the fish and chips that the Phanatic brought you, by the way, when you were there?
It would have been really good, but it was cold. So cold fish doesn't really. And I'll say this about what Stevie Cohen, I don't know, we talked about this. They brought us, it was called Doritos Loco Nachos Grandes, okay? It said Doritos with salsa, sour cream, jalapenos, and cheese sauce, right? So you're like, oh, that sounds kind of good, right? The Phanatic brought those to us. It was plain tortilla chips, no Doritos, definitely not Doritos, just plain. The salsa was ketchup. So you take the first bite, and you're like, oh, this is sweet, not like salty. Even Wayno was like, this just doesn't taste right. As he ate the whole little thing of them, but he's like, these just don't taste good. And he just couldn't stop eating them. And I had one, I was like, I'm out. And then the Phanatic also brought us a piece of cake, right? A little chocolate cake, like this big probably. Show you probably like that. Wayno, we didn't have any silverware, picks up the cake and goes, takes a big bite of it and then hands it to me and goes, you want some? And I'm like, I'm going to pass on that one, dude. And he's like, whoa, you don't want to eat cake after me? I'm like,
no, I don't.
No, that's a no. Sorry.
Wayno and AJ were making out over cake. That's awesome.
I
saw the tea that they brought the ESPN crew on Sunday night. And it was it was disgusting. It looked like
I'll say this. They did have one cool thing. They had the bats. Have you seen like the plastic bats full of beer? Mm-hmm. So my family, my kids are old enough now they can drink when they go over there. So I have a picture of like my daughter, my wife, my daughter's friend, and then a couple other friends of ours that went. And they're all drinking the bats like this in a line in the stands that our other friend took. So
the fact that you have kids old enough to drink in Europe makes me feel ancient. And on that note, don't forget that you can check out the Fair Territory episode that Ken Rosenthal had today. That is out live right now. Thanks for letting me be here, boys. I'm with you for the rest of the week. I will only get better. For AJ Pierzynski, Erik, Kratz, Todd, Frazier, our entire Foul Territory crew. Thanks for being with us on this day. And don't forget, Dodgers Territory is next. Don't forget to follow and subscribe everything that we do on the show. We appreciate it. We will see you mañana.